People often ask me why, after over 15 years of originating residential mortgage loans, I began a deep dive in divorce mortgage financing in 2015. To provide support, I have a story about my main why, and this is what I call the story of Susie, which is a cautionary tale. Back in 2001, a friend of mine referred a client to me. We'll call the client Susie. That's not her real name. Susie called me a bit frantic, says, I need to sit down with you today. I have a very time-sensitive matter. We arranged for her to come to my office that afternoon. She came in, sat down in my conference room, and handed me a stack of papers, which were her final divorce papers. The divorce had become finalized and done 4 days earlier. In the papers, it specified that Susie had 60 days to settle the affairs of the marital home. This document was 4 days old, so she technically had 56 days to perform. What Susie was looking to do was to buy her ex-husband out of the marital home so she could keep the property. She was very proud that she won the property in the divorce. She had assured her teenage daughter that she was going to be able to keep the marital home, that mommy won the home. So to give some dynamics here, we call Susie the in-spouse because of her desire to stay in the marital home. Her ex-husband, we call him the out-spouse because of his desire to move out of the home. Typically, out-spouses have two conditions. Condition number one, remove me from the debt obligation of the home. After all, I'm giving up the asset. I don't want to hang on to the debt. Condition number two, I want my divvy, my share of the equity, as a buyout. So let's add some numbers here. These numbers are rounded for simplicity here, but they're not rounded by much. The value of the marital home was $500,000. The payoff of the mortgage was $400,000, which left $100,000 in equity. They had agreed that it would go 50-50 and that he would get $50,000. So his conditions were real simple. Remove me from the joint mortgage debt and give me $50,000. She came into my office. We talked for a few moments. It didn't take long for me to definitively ascertain that she didn't qualify. There was no loan that she could get. I was very diplomatic and very caring and professional when I conveyed that information to her. Susie became very agitated. She grabbed her divorce papers and waved them in my face and said, my attorney told me all I have to do is show you these papers and you have to lend to me. Well, that's not how lending works. And I mean this respectfully. The courts, the attorneys, the judge do not have jurisdiction to force a lender to create a mortgage, nor do they have the jurisdiction to force a lender to remove an existing guarantor from a contract that was entered into legally. As I started to explain this to Susie, she got very upset, grabbed her papers, stormed out of my conference room, slammed the door behind her, and I never spoke with her again, which is not how I do business, and it was very upsetting. To this day, I've not spoken with Susie, but I am still in contact with the person who referred Susie to me. And he has, felt compelled to tell me what happened after she left my conference room. This is all hearsay, but this is what I was told. She went into her bank asking for that same mortgage and was told the exact same thing. She then went and called her attorney. Apparently, it was a very heated conversation where bridges were definitively burned. Apparently, some profanity was used, some names were called. She and that attorney were not going to be doing business together any longer. Susie then called her ex-husband and said, hey, they're not going to lend to me. We need to work something else out. Apparently, he took this as an opportunity to gaslight her and demoralize her and said, this is just like you to not do your homework and to ask other people to bail you out. Well, I'm not doing it. You have 56 days to get me off that mortgage and give me $50,000. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to the judge and demand full custody of our teenage daughter. Apparently, at that point, Susie panicked. I'm going to give you some rounded numbers here. I don't know the exact numbers, but again, they're not too far off. Susie absorbed the cost of selling the marital home by herself. A $500,000 sales price at a 6% realtor total commissions is $30,000. Add in escrow and title fees, transfer taxes, buyer incentives, and or any repairs. Let's call it another, say, $12,000. Susie absorbed the $42,000 of cost to sell and was left with $8,000 to her while he got $50,000. Apparently, she didn't realize what she had agreed to until it was too late. And at that point, she walked with less than $10,000. He walked with his full $50,000. By the way, apparently that strained the relationship between Susie and her teenage daughter because she had to now change schools. And the teenage daughter apparently said, well, I'm going to go live with dad now because dad doesn't lie to me. You lie to me. All the while, I can't help but think to myself, what if I was brought in earlier? I could have definitively informed Susie of her inability to qualify. She and her ex-husband could have partnered and got the highest sales price possible, split the cost of sale, and split the net proceeds. No lie or untruth would have to be spoken to the daughter, It could have just been a conversation they had all at once that we need to sell the marital home, and that's no longer a home that any of us can live in. So I bring all this up not to demoralize Susie or not to self-promote, but when I say that the mortgage industry is not kind to divorcing parties, this is an example. Now, I don't know if Susie misheard what the attorney said. I don't know if the attorney said, show him those papers and he has to lend to you. That's all hearsay. The point I want you to know is that bringing in a certified divorce lending professional, also known as a CDLP, early in the process is essential. I can help. Please visit divorceloanpro.com to learn more about me, my services, my fees, my background, my credentials, and my client reviews. Again, Jason Gordon, divorceloanpro.com. Thank you for listening.